Hey everyone, I'm Marina McKean. Welcome to our interview series Behind the Byline at ClearVoice, where we get a glimpse behind the curtain at the fantastic writers who contribute to our team. Joining me today is Linsey Knerl. Hey Linsey. Okay, let's kick things off. So, Linsey, what got you into the world of content marketing?
I started 16 years ago writing for magazines, writing about chickens and farming actually. And I just kind of transitioned into content over 6 or 7 years of kind of moving from, content for consumers to content to buyers. There's a lot of nice overlap where you can do advertorial and really interesting story-based content that's also, ad paid content. So it was just a natural transition for me.
Awesome. Well, congrats on that. 16 years, that's an accomplished career already. So I'm assuming you owned chickens or you had familiarity with animals or
Yes, I still have lots of chickens and geese on our little 4-acre homestead. So, very big part of my life. Fresh eggs every morning. It's not a bad life.
Oh, awesome. You can put them on your bagels in the morning. So
Right.
there you go. Awesome. Well, what tools and techniques do you use to conduct research and gather insights about the topics that you're writing about?
Well, lately I like to have all the search engines up. It seems like each one will kind of have a little bit of a, I guess, approach towards finding the right content. So my kids make fun of me for using some of the older search engines that we grew up with, but they really do approach things differently. I do use AI, Bing Copilot, to just kind of see what maybe some competing articles have contributed and just make sure that the things I'm writing are kind of one up on that so that the client really does to be the thought leader in that space.
I know you mentioned you use a lot of different tools and platforms. How do you stay updated with the latest trends and developments in the industries that you're working with?
Sure. So I do like Feedly a lot, and I pay for the premium subscription so that keywords and certain newspapers and newsletters get kind of imported daily, and I can quickly scan through those and see which ones might be, a potential future story, or I can pitch that or refine something I'm working on. But I also like some newsletters, specifically TLDR. Is kind of a big one in tech and AI, and that's just a fun one I like to read actually with my teenagers every morning because there are some fun science things and games, and it's a nice way to bring my world into their world. So from a personal standpoint, I think that's a fun one.
Awesome. I'm going to have to subscribe. I've heard of it, but I'm not a subscriber. So you've influenced me. Is there anything that you do to adapt your communication style when working with different clients or industries? So, how do you approach chickens differently than AI?
I think it's not so much industry or topic as it is just getting to know the team members, especially because we're dealing with a lot of distributed teams today. I know one editor might be living in Australia, working in Germany, and you kind of can sense, okay, I tend to get emails from this editor at this time. I know when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to have some edit requests. So I think it's a little bit more of understanding workflow and personality and how those kind of come into play, and just making sure that even if I can't be at my desk at a certain time, I kind of leave the door open for, this is a great time to ask for, edit requests or questions. And I just can kind of, make it as easy as possible for editors and clients to ask for what they need.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great process. We've touched a little on agriculture and also AI and tech. Is there a specific industry or topic that you're super passionate about writing for?
Yeah, I don't get as much work in the area as I would like. I think just because we don't know what it is quite yet, but because I am a 25-year homeschooler and I'm very excited about student-led education, I would love to do more in the ed tech space and just in, independent learning models. So that's always something I'm very interested in.
Can you tell us a little bit about the homeschool book you wrote for Simon and Schuster?
Yeah, so I wrote it during the pandemic when everybody was kind of trying to figure out how to accommodate the world being completely unpredictable and yet still needing to educate their children. And it's just kind of looking at how to determine your style, what your children need, and some of the options out there for people who have never considered it before.
So, Lindsay, I know that you have 25 years experience with homeschooling. How did you go about the research and writing your book?
So it was actually a project I started 8.5 years ago when nobody was really interested in the topic, and I did a lot of the groundwork there. I also kind of used my own experiences, so I tell a lot of personal stories. And then I did interviews with several parents. So we interview somebody in the military, we interview, somebody who's taking care of their grandchildren. We kind of looked at different styles and different situations so that I could share stories of people who were making it work. And I think letting people tell their stories is one of the best ways to do any type of content.
Awesome. I love that. So, are you working on any kind of follow up?
I am actually working on something that's going to be geared towards how to get from high school to college when you're a homeschooler, but that is kind of taking a very long time as it does when you have 6 children and you're working a lot on your freelance projects. So it will be one of those TBD things we all have a few of, I think.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. That's definitely something that I think is applicable both for homeschool and, just in general for people who go through the public school system as well. So, definitely looking forward to it. Do you have any article you wrote that resonated with an audience in a way that you didn't expect?
Yes, in my early days, I wrote a few things that really upset people. And I think that can resonate often when people feel like you're speaking truth to something that they don't want to hear. That often happened when I was covering more personal finance topics and talking about some of the, not necessarily sacrifices, but different types of decisions that you might have to make if you wanted to start a family. Living rural and in a place with a lower cost of living, there are a lot of trade-offs. So sometimes people need to hear things but don't want to hear them right away. And in those days, really mean comments were kind of new, and you just learn to grow a thick skin. And it kind of encourages you to continue down that path and think, okay, if there are a lot of people that don't understand this or that might be curious, this might exactly be the type of thing I need to keep writing about. So it can also be strangely encouraging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to hear that because it sounds like there's the other side of it too. So maybe some people were upset, but it obviously helped a lot of people, which is always the point, I feel like, with writing. So great. Linsey, what are your future goals or aspirations as a content writer and strategist?
I think at my age, which is not thinking about retirement, but thinking about the next season, it's natural for a lot of people to get into strategy or maybe the more bigger picture. And I've never really wanted to do that because as a writer, I get to just learn about things all day long, new topics, interview people. That is my favorite part of the job. So I don't know that I would ever want to give that up. So I think next steps for me would just be following a lot of the tech trends because where AI and machine learning are going is just such an exciting place. And I feel like if I just followed that, that would almost feel like a second career at this point.
Very exciting. Okay, speaking of what you're going to be writing next, in addition to your freelance writing, I've heard you like to write dark fiction. Can you tell us anything about any of your current or upcoming projects?
Yes, I really like crime, thriller, noir, just anything that kind of shows people at their worst, but trying to do their best. I've done a few things that are kind of can't be talked about publicly yet, but that are in pre-publishing phase. And that's just a way for me to, I don't want to say have a second personality, but kind of just unplug from the kind of work I do during the day and let my imagination go places that it doesn't get to go when you're writing about tech or finance.
How do you carve out time to focus on the writing that you're passionate about versus, of course, family time or the time that you spend on freelance writing for ClearVoice?
Yeah, so I'm actually very blessed, I think, in that I have a very supportive spouse. And he has, since our children were tiny, read to them every night and done the entire bedtime routine. And it can go on for 30, 45 minutes a night. And I actually take that time to work on fiction projects. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but I wrote a novel in a year that way. I tend to do a lot of my research during that time. And it's just a special little quiet time for me that I have been gifted over the years and I really, really appreciate.
Awesome. I'm jealous. Not only are we now doing an interview, it's relationship advice as well. So I'll be mentioning that to my fiance. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Linsey. I'm so excited to hear more in the future about your book. And thank you for that relationship advice.
I had a good time. Thank you.
We'll be back with more interviews with these dynamic writers and industry leaders. To learn more about our amazing content specialists, visit clearvoice.com.